design localized training for first responders that is free and utilizes a flexible learning modality that enables access to essential content asynchronously and at one's own pace. And so, OASH's hashtag AshFirst2022 was conceived and underwent the following phases, beginning with the prefatory phase. This page of the project's concept note reveals that despite the initial email exchanges between OASH and GAD and the first coordination meeting of said offices with the Office of Student Affairs, or OSA, there had to be a hiatus due to the turnover of the administrative heads of OSA and GAD. Meanwhile, designing the activity entailed for it to be asynchronous, to afford participants enough time to access material that must be user-friendly, and with a praxis component to demonstrate the intended skills development outcome. Hence, we conducted 3 webinars beginning with a launch on April 22nd with cybercrime law expert Dr. Attorney Noel Ramiscal delivering the talk entitled A Guide to First Responders and Survivors, Electronic Evidence in Gender and Sexual Orientation-Based Harassment, Violence, and Related Cybercrime. The second part of this event showcased student paper presentations from my PS 164 Gender and Politics class on the theme Gender in the Digital Age. This is in anticipation of the UN International Girls in ICT Day on April 28th. The following week, and in observance of said day, we disseminated this e-kit as a PDF attachment to the members of the UP Cebu community via their UP email with the facilitation of the Teaching and Learning Resource Center, or TLRC, of UP Cebu. Intended as an electronic document with the e-kit as assembled using Canva and contains clickable content organized into the conceptual left side on the WHS of sexual harassment, or from cognition to the practical skills at the right side, or recognition, particularly on the role of the first responder in a case of sexual harassment. For skill demonstrability, the First Responders webinar was conducted on June 1st, with UP Cebu's guidance services specialists speaking about the following important topics: self-disclosure, empathetic listening, psychological first aid, and note-taking. This was followed by a role play for the praxis component of the drill. The culmination followed on June 6th, with Dr. Attorney Ramiscal returning for yet another talk entitled Understanding the Terrains of and Dealing with Sexual Orientation Abuse and Violence, as we observed Pride Month in June. The criteria for best practices developed by Nang and De Colombani in 2015 informed this assessment of hashtag AshFirst2022 on whether or not it is a good practice, as shown here on this screenshot on page 40 of the project's portfolio. From this, I humbly submit that hashtag AshFirst2022 is a modest success, along with these results tabulated from attendance and post-event evaluation data documented in the project's portfolio. You would note from this table that a good number of participants gave an overall evaluation of best for the first 2 webinars, and despite the culmination conducted the week before the final examination, it received the overall evaluation of better. This level of success would not have been possible without OASH-GAD's partnership, with the GAD office providing the budget for the implementation of hashtag AshFirst2022. GAD even gave freebies to the participants and completers of the project. To complete the recipe for hashtag AshFirst2022's success are the strategic collaborations of OASH with the TLRC for the dissemination of notices, Zoom arrangements, and even YouTube channel, to the UP Cebu community, OSA also, and its guidance services specialists. My political science classes, namely PS 164, Gender and Politics, as well as SOCSI 105, Gender Issues in Philippine Society, as well as the UP Political Science Society, the student organization of political science majors. At this point, allow me to share testimonials from the participants of hashtag AshFirst 2022, which I deem as success stories. For instance, this evaluation comment from the launch reads, "The keynote speaker's discussion gave attention to the legal aspects of both cybercrime and sexual harassment. The talk has equipped me with knowledge needed to respond to sexual abuse victims and help them with what they're experiencing." Meanwhile, this is from the June 1st Praxis webinar, which lauds how interactive and relevant the event was, plus the multiplier effect of transcending vulnerability in terms of mental health to the readiness to apply learning for the benefit of those who will need it. And from the June 6th culmination is this gender-informed assertion for enough safe spaces for the LGBT members of the community. Of course, the project is not without flaws. Thus, in using the SWOT analysis to draw lessons and insights from the project, OWASH's workforce deficiency stands out as a major weakness. That is, we have no staff or equipment, just myself, the coordinator, practically doing much of the project. Fortunately, new skills I honed as forced actually by instructional challenges brought about by the pandemic helped counteract this workforce deficiency. These skills include increasing adeptness in using Canva and other apps in the Google ecosystem to package the project for the intended audience, the UP Cebu community. Meanwhile, the turnover of administrative heads, as earlier mentioned in the prefatory phase, as well as technical challenges and dependence on the internet, are the major threats to the project. Thankfully, strategic partnership with GAD and collaborations with the stakeholders in the UP Cebu community, plus a generally supportive administration, neutralized the threats. This is why, for the project's replicability and sustainability, it is important to ensure the crucial resources needed as provided via the major partnership and collaborations, and to include those that would provide access to funding opportunities beyond UP Cebu. Also, formalize a program or project-informed onboarding mechanism to counteract the turnover of administrative heads for project continuity, and address OWASH's workforce deficiency by providing staff and equipment for it to reach more heights in combating sexual harassment. Indeed, despite the challenges brought about by COVID-19, it is not impossible to heed the call for a free, accessible, and self-paced way of capacitating first responders at a time when gendered vulnerability is expanding both in offline and online settings. With its initial success, hashtag AshFirst 2022 deserves another run to further ascertain the best practice criterion on effectiveness. Meanwhile, the following recommendations are informed by my participation in the Digital Rights Camp 2022 last September, organized by the Foundation for Media Alternatives. First, consider integrating a holistic perspective of the cycle of violence in the delivery of the project. Second, infuse intersectionality perspectives by incorporating a check your privilege exercise along with an allyship component among the activities in the project. And third, explore the potential of a network of GAD-ASH focal persons that audit and or capacitate institutions mandated by law to constitute and maintain their respective Committees on Decorum and Investigation, or CODIs. In closing, allow me to paraphrase to you my thanks to Dr. Attorney Ramiscal as I thank you. This is something that I believe can also qualify as criteria for good practices in gender and development mainstreaming. Let's continue to empower more minds to think differently, more hearts to love more inclusively, and more hands to help more sensitively. Daghang salamat. Gikan sa UP Cebu, Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment.
Before we proceed with the webinar proper, please let me remind everyone of the following webinar etiquettes. Sorry for the. This webinar will be recorded. We will be keeping tab of the proceedings for this webinar for documentation purposes. You are free to leave if you feel uncomfortable that this session will be recorded. Webinar etiquettes to note, please we want to make sure that the speaker's voice is clear to everyone. We may opt to remove you if you don't follow this request. Please refrain from taking pictures or videos of the talk. If you do so, you will be held accountable of data privacy violations if the copy you created leaks into other internet outlets. We wish to keep the identity of our participants private, so as yours as well. Please avoid using the annotation tool. Once the annotation tool is activated, you might unconsciously swerve your arrow towards the speaker's presentation and draw unnecessary lines that may block the participant's view on some text and images on the slides. If you have questions while the talk is ongoing, you may put them in the Q&A box or at the chat box. After the talk, you will have a chance to ask your questions. And please don't forget to evaluate. Your inputs on the webinar will help us improve our next webinars. After you have answered the forms, you will be given a proof of participation. The evaluation link will be opened right after the webinar. For this webinar, we will just announce when to close the evaluation. And we are currently live streaming on our YouTube channel, the LRCUP Cebu. So for those watching through YouTube, you will get your proof of participation by staying until the end of the session. We will be announcing the instructions at the live chat, so please stay tuned. So here are the TLRC socials for more webinar and training updates. You can follow and contact us on the following platforms. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the hashtag AshFirst 2022 First Responders Webinar 2.0.
We are very grateful to everyone who is present with us today. Despite it being the weekend, you made time to listen and learn from this webinar.
That's right, Chelsea. Indeed, we're looking forward to having a very fruitful and productive discussion today. And before anything else, let us take a minute, put ourselves in the presence of God as we join in the PCW anti-vow prayer.
After which we shall sing the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and UP Naming Mahal.
Prayer for the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. As we observe the 18-day campaign to end violence against women, or VOW, from November 25 to December 12, we ask you, Lord, to look with kindness upon all of us who are gathered here. Fill our hearts and minds with love, wisdom, and courage as we face our daily lives. We pray for all women and girls who suffer from domestic violence, rape, incest, sexual harassment, trafficking, prostitution, and other forms of violence. May they have the courage to break their silence, find protection, healing, and justice. We pray for all the perpetrators of vow that they may learn to respect women and girls to stop the violence. O loving Father and Mother, send us your Spirit so that everything that we do will be done with love and respect for our fellow humans, regardless of age, sex, class, ethnicity, and ability. O powerful God, develop in us a high regard for our thoughts, feelings, and experiences of everyone, and bestow on us the capacity to promote, protect, and fulfill the rights of women and girls. Almighty Creator, grant us the strength to stand up against all forms of violence happening to women and girls, the sharpness to recognize silenced victim of vow, the courage to speak up against vow, the resourcefulness to help a victim of a vow, and the resolve to never commit any form of vow. For all of these, we implore your guidance. Amen.
Noon pa man, malaki na ang naging bahagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ayaw magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lumang hiniram, gulatan ng mag-ibig, sa manlulubi, di ka masisingil, sa nagtatakbulok sa singil at sa lalim mong bahag. May ginanang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y talumpay na nagdilingin. Ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may magdiling. Lupa ng araw ng 100% buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pagpay makakamit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. You
Good afternoon once again. Time check. It is now 10 o'clock in the afternoon, and we cannot wait to start this webinar and share new learnings with everyone. We are your hosts, Chelsea Bernales.
And Ferdy Google for hashtag AshFirst 2022 First Responders Webinar 2.0. And to formally start our program, let us call on Attorney Archil Nina Capistrano, the OWASH coordinator and our very own professor in SOCSI 105. And let's give her a round of applause, please.
Attorney, you're muted.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Good afternoon to all of us present today. Mainitong hapon, especially that we wish you today Happy Human Rights Day. And we say that with the theme dignity, freedom, and justice for all, we say very much here at OWASH and UP Cebu, with God, of course, that gender rights are human rights. And so today we are fighting, we continue the fight against gender-based violence, this time, of course, in the form of sexual harassment, which includes online sexual harassment. This is actually the second run of hashtag AshFirst 2022. It is our first responders drill on anti-sexual harassment on the principle that because the vulnerability of anybody, practically anybody, has expanded to vulnerability to online sexual harassment or sexual harassment for that matter, has expanded to online spaces. We say in UP Cebu, particularly in OWASH, that it is important to capacitate each and everyone in the UP Cebu community and probably all workers and learners to be first responders. I repeat, that should be competent first responders on anti-sexual harassment. In April to June of this year, we had the first run of hashtag AshFirst 2021. And in October, we presented this as among the good practices of gender mainstreaming. And with PCW and the National Anti-Poverty Commission, UP Cebu actually got or bagged a special citation on gender mainstreaming in the education sector because of hashtag AshFirst 2022. And we said that this is a continuing struggle. This is a continuing battle against gender-based violence in the form of sexual harassment. And so here we are on the 16th day of the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. We are doing the First Responders Webinar 2.0. This is our praxis component of hashtag AshFirst 2022. We, of course, mentioned the e-kit, of course, earlier. And allow me to indicate, of course, if you want to have a look at the e-kit, you can actually have a look at it at this link. This is actually the short link. Okay, I'm typing it. Or if you want to have a look at the first 16 days of our campaign with OWASH in collaboration with SOCSI 105, Gender Issues in Philippine Society, my class with Chelsea and Ferdy here, you can have a look at the first 16 days here at the Facebook page of our OWASH, or Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment. Of course, please stay on, because later on we'll have the photo op, okay, after of maybe immediately before our announcement. There are many things in store for us. Of course, we have somebody to give us really meaty information about feminist care, trauma-informed feminist care, which is the brand, the hallmark of this famous organization that really is the epitome of first responders, Luna's Collective. So I'm really very excited for us to hear about the talk later on. And note, of course, that after the talk, we'll have an open forum. And then we will have, after the certificate of appreciation, there is an important component we include today in the program. There will be the announcement of winners, okay, of the essay writing contest. So stay tuned. You will be expecting freebies from and prizes from our Gender and Development Office. And speaking of freebies, please make sure to accomplish not only our evaluation for your certificate of attendance, but also hopefully you can accomplish the My Ash First 2022 notes to indicate your learnings from the eKit and today's webinar, because it will be open starting 3 p.m. today and it will close at 10 p.m. tonight. And those of you who will accomplish that, you will receive a PDF of your input, and then you will be expecting freebies. You can claim them from our Gender and Development Office. And with that, allow me once again to warmly welcome everyone in this Learning Praxis webinar so that we become really competent first responders on anti-sexual harassment. Back to you, Chelsea and Ferdy.
Thank you so much, Attorney, for your kind and motivating words of wisdom. Now we move on to the highlight of our webinar, our esteemed guest speaker, who is currently completing her MA in Developmental Psychology at Miriam College. She provides counseling and psychotherapy to adult clients at the We Thrive Consultancy and Wellbeing Services. She also works closely with children and adolescents as a teacher and guidance counselor at Raya School, Inc. She serves as a Lunas Collectives project officer. As a project officer, she helps organize training programs for fellow volunteers and advocates of gender justice. She is also a resource speaker for various topics, including suicide prevention and intervention, mental health and well-being, gender sensitivity training, and survivor-centered approach to handling cases of gender-based violence. She believes in the importance of combining psychology and feminism in the work she does, because working with people involves recognizing the conditions where they experience injustice, which impacts health and well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Ms. Janine Del Mundo. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking part in this webinar. So let me share my screen so we can start right away. So to begin, let me introduce myself again. I'm Janine. At least for our conversation this afternoon, you can call me Janine. I will also open the chat. I mean, this is to say that you are welcome to send your messages, questions, and even insights in the chat box. And then we will read them when we have time, or once we have the chance to read all your messages. I'm a mental health clinician and the project officer of Lunas Collective. As you've heard, I combine psychology and feminism in the work that I do. As a person working and interacting with people of diverse background, I should recognize the situations where they are in that of course impacts their health and well-being. So I cannot ask people to work hard or to be at their best if their environment do not allow them to do so. And so for this talk, I would like to give you a brief overview. Let me talk about gender and power orientation. I think that will go for around 5 to 10 minutes. The reason why I am including gender and power orientation, because in conversations like this, it does not only include the survivor per se, or the victim per se, but gender-based violence, sexual harassment, and any other forms of GBV or gender-based violence. I will be mentioning a lot of that GBV, so I hope you can remember that acronym. It's first and foremost a social issue. So it does not only include why a situation happened to a person, but in this talk I would like to share with you how are we involved as part of the community, as part of the society. How are we involved? And then after I talk about power orientation and gender, I will go right away to the feminist care principles. So I was given 45 minutes to complete everything, and I hope you get first your refreshments. Think of what you need at this time. Perhaps before we start, you can do some stretch and mind again all throughout the talk. Please mind yourself, your level of comfort as well, because some of the texts will uh, some of the text will include sensitive topics. So Luna's Collective, we started in March 2020, where cases of GBV was increased globally. And for us, ang chat helpline, as we call it, ito yung unmute button para sa mga victim survivors ng gender-based violence. Una, dahil alam namin na hindi madali yung mag-open up, hindi kaagad hindi kaagad-agad para sa isang tao yung mag-speak up tungkol sa kanyang experiences. At yung branding namin, I would like to believe, ay andito lang kami kapag ready na yung victim survivor na magkwento. At kapag nagkwento na siya, ina-assure namin na merong space para dun sa tao na yun, para sa kanya. At baka para sa inyo. So baka applicable din to sa inyo. So I would like to begin with this statement. Everyone needs care. Especially in this modern time, we cannot emphasize enough yung kahalagahan ng pangangalaga sa sarili, lalo na kung yung panahon sinasanay tayo sa hustle culture. Alam naman natin yun. At yung mga bagay na nakikita natin, kadalasan for profit sila. So yung mga tao, tendency is to work hard, pero basic need ang care. In order for us to do anything about what we do in life, we need care. Vague enough siya, I would like to say, dahil iba-iba yung pangangailangan natin bilang tao. So siguro a question that can explain this further is, how do you want to be taken care of? Or let us think of our friends and family and think of the times where we felt we're being taken care of. Or how do you want to be taken care of? Ayun. So una, everyone needs care. Pangalawa, yung pagbibigay ng care, natututunan siya. Hindi kailangan ng dalubhasang training, hindi kailangan ng graduate studies, hindi kailangan madaming degree para maging eligible ka to give care. So, connected yung dalawa na yun. Lahat tayo kailangan ng care sa ating mga buhay. Pangalawa, pwede tayong magbigay ng care. Pangatlo, related to gender-based violence is, care can be a response. In the Philippines, usually legal-oriented yung approach sa pag-respond sa mga cases of gender-based violence. And sad to say na it's not only victim survivors do not only have legal needs. Meron din silang medical needs, reproductive health needs, mental health needs. At yung care, yung pagbibigay ng care, yung pagiging sensitibo, yung pagiging maalam sa realidad na meron sila, magpa-facilitate kung paano natin sila mas matutulungan pa. Okay? So in the Philippines, again, I would like to repeat that, legal-oriented usually. Pero we have given trainings to CHR and MMDA, and we would hear cases that more or less contribute to the oppression that victim survivors experience, just because they are not sensitive enough in the way that they will give care. All right. So we know merong mga legal needs, medical needs ang mga victim survivors. Kaya dito mas kailangan yung pag-respond ng may pagkalinga, ng may pangangalaga. At later on, malalaman nyo kung bakit ito yung anchor na gusto naming i-share din sa lahat. And caring for people whose profile, whose background, merong GBV, meron pang isang layer doon. So una, kailangan natin ng care. Pangalawa, pwedeng matutunan yung pagbibigay ng care. Pangatlo, if you want to give care to victim survivors, meron pang isang layer doon, which is knowing the context. Knowing kung ano yung reality sa naranasan nila. Na ito ay una't una social issue. At kapag hindi natin alam kung bakit nangyayari itong GBV, baka hindi tayo ma-inform ng mas mabuti kung paano nag-respond sa ganitong cases. So, ibig sabihin, may dahilan kung bakit nangyayari ito. At kung hindi natin alam yon, baka gawin tayo nitong insensitive. So, I would like to share with you first systems of power. This is one belief in feminism na every one of us have a sense of power. Di ba nga merong phrase na more power to you? Pwede yon dito. Applicable yon dito. Na power should be understood on an individual level and in relation to other people and other social institutions. So each of us have level of power, inner power that we can use to support our needs and well-being. And one proof that you have power, or one proof that you have realized you have power, is your truth is being heard. And power comes from many sources. And I would like to give you the social categories. Who am I? What am I? Sino tayo? Sino ako? Sino kayo? Depending on your social class, your financial income, level of education, occupation, religion, spirituality, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, age group, ability or disability, and privileges. Itong mga social categories na to, nagiging identity natin ito at depende sa kung anong category tayo nagpo-fall, doon napaparealize o doon hindi napaparealize sa atin yung ating level of power. Kasi yung society, merong dinedefine na itong grupo na to sa taas, yung mabibigyan ng privilege. While yung mga nasa baba, yung categories at sila yung nasa baba, sila yung mga oppressed. And one of those categories ay yung gender. So gender is a social organizing force that encompasses sexuality. Sa tingin ko alam na natin to, no? Pero I'd like to give a brief definition again. And emphasizing on the phrase social organizing force. So the systems we have use gender, no, to organize people. Not only to organize, pero to decide sino yung pwedeng makarealize lang ng kanilang power at sino yung ma-oppress sa kabilang banda. Okay, it's also a system of difference and inequality that interacts with other systems such as race and class but is nonetheless distinct from it. Favorite kong sabihin sa mga nakakausap ko, lalo na kung from sectors of the government, ang kalalakihan, usually hindi sila na-oppressed because of their sexuality, but because of their other identities. Because society favors men. So let me put it that way. So this is part of the reason why power is unevenly distributed. I would like you to think of power as a web, as a spider web. Merong mas nag-hold nun ng mas marami kaysa sa atin. Tapos meron din namang mga iba na mas kaunti yung meron. Okay, we all wield some form of power, and we are all subject to power relations depending on the context or situations that we are in. So I would like you to think of nasaan ako, nasaan kayo when it in terms of who will be given privilege and who will be oppressed. Wala pa tayo doon sa have we had experiences of sexual harassment and gender-based violence. Wala pa yon. So let's think of our privileges, our abilities, what social class do I belong. Ngayon, um, yung yung gender identity, dinefine lang siya dito na a deeply felt sense of one's gender. And at this time, meron tayong kalayaan to think about this without feeling triggered. Kasi baka, fortunately, wala naman yung iba sa atin na experiences ng GBV. Pero for other people, iba yung reality nila. So, people who do not conform to what they're expected to do or to be in terms of gender identity are penalized. So, ito ay mga basic examples that we have the freedom to talk about freely dito, no? We can just discuss about this. Pero what happens in real life? So, merong mga expectations and stereotypes, and when these are not followed, merong mga nangyayaring sa kanila. So, ito yung mga examples ng GBV: objectification, intimate partner violence, rape, discrimination, exclusion, street harassment, workplace harassment. So, binigay lang yung iba't ibang setting dito. So, this is a reality for other people. And the least that we can do is to talk about this and say, how are we involved first? And how can we give care if we want to give care? Kasi kung ayaw naman natin magbigay ng care, okay lang yun. Diba? We can transfer a victim survivor to a different service provider if sa tingin natin, hindi natin kayang mag-cater sa story nila at that time. So, merong sensitivity sa ganong aspeto na tinitignan mo din yung capacity mo. Do you know how to give care? And do you want to give care? Do you have the capacity to give care? Kasi kung hindi, okay lang naman. Pero we do not rob the victim survivors of the care they deserve. Diba? So we can give them to other persons na pwedeng makapagbigay sa kanila ng serbisyo, ng pangangalaga na dapat naman matanggap talaga nila. So hindi dapat ini-escape yung mga ganong kwento ng ating mga kaibigan na may karanasan ng GBV. And one approach we have in this collective is by emphasizing that pleasure is our birthright. Yung pleasure, it doesn't have to be sexual. Pero mas okay, no, kung alam din natin yung sexual side of where we can get pleasure or how we want to get pleasure. Pero pleasure kasi inaalis na yung dichotomy between what is for men and what is for women. Pero pleasure is more individualized siya in a sense na related to sa care. How can you get pleasure? How do you feel pleasure? Where can you get pleasure? That is a way of caring for yourself. And we can get pleasure from knowing our sexuality. Sexuality is a central aspect of being human throughout life, and it encompasses sex, gender identities, and roles, sexual orientation, eroticism, pleasure, intimacy, and production. And it is experienced and expressed in thoughts, fantasies, desires, beliefs, attitudes, values, behaviors, practices, roles, and relationships. And in some, sexuality has to do with what makes you, you. Pati yung right natin to have pride on what we feel about ourselves. With in regards to our sexuality and other aspects na meron tayo sa ating mga buhay. And patriarchy dominates pleasure. So let me share with you that I have one client as a therapist, no, male siya. So, siya yung merong expectation sa sarili niya tungkol sa kung ano ang dapat lalaki. Pero, as I see his case, very limiting din yung mga bagay na yun. Yung mga bagay na um, pinipilit stick sa sarili dahil sinabi lang ng society. But when in fact, when you put it beside you and feel, is this really the way I want to live? Baka hindi. 'Di ba? So patriarchy dominates pleasure. And one myth is paglalandi is bad. 'Di ba? Kung malandi tayo, go. One cannot talk about it openly and one cannot express their desires openly. Dito din ang gagaling yung kapag nakapakita ka ng affection, iti-take na yun as a yes to GBV or sexual harassment when hindi naman. Meron ding hegemonic masculinity or toxic or harmful masculinity. And because of this, coercion and violation, nagiging norms sila. Kaya nga merong GBV and sexual violence. Na ang nangyayari, yung victims pa, yung nasisisi. Diba? Victim blaming. But in the bit na I shared with you, at least na-share ko sa inyo yung sinishare namin sa mga nag-volunteer sa Lunas Collective. Ito yung pinanggagalingan ng mga ganitong bagay. So, what do we mean by survivor-centered approach? First is trauma-informed, meaning we assume that an individual is more likely than not to have a history of trauma. Okay? We give way na sa possibility na merong pinagdaanan tong kausap natin, for example. Tapos, never blaming the storytellers or survivors, but believing them. Along with feeling isolated and powerless, society's judgment makes it difficult for people to talk. So, yun yung unang gusto kong i-share gamit yung feminist care principles na yung mga survivors ng GBV merong diminished sense of power because of their experiences of GBV. And us, as helpers, as responders, we recognize the power that we have. And in responding to their experiences, to their stories, we lend them our sense of power para sila ma-access ulit nila yung ganong sense sa kanilang mga buhay. So, let me stop sharing first and I will go to my next set of slides. But before that, I want to share with you a Google Jamboard link. Ano lang yan, kung gusto nyo lang magsulat ng kahit ano for your questions or comments, this is a space for you. Pero pwede din namang through chat, just so you have more options. Okay? Tapos pwede din tayong magkomento sa insights ng ibang tao. So, there's that. Here's a space for questions and comments. Alright. So, let me now proceed with LCFC or Lunas Collective Feminist Care principles. But before that, can you let me know if you are still with me? A like sign or any sign of life, your presence. Okay, so I'm seeing emojis. Thank you very much. Para wala tayong maiwanan. Okay. Okay, so care communities, changing the conversation. Yung personal explanation ko nito ay, we know na yung stereotypes na later on pinanggagalingan ng violence, na-form siya, it can be formed through conversations. Pero, to counter that, we also say na yung pag-unpack nun at yung pag-side with survivors ay kasing dali ng pag-engage sa conversation. So, care communities changing the conversation. We never blame the storytellers, survivors, we believe them. Through solidarity, we demand accountability and justice. And with consent, we use our pleasures to co-create a better society. Let me now proceed. So, 5 ito, lunas. The first one is listen. So, take what you can. You may not parang write down everything, pero just what you can use or what's applicable, yun lang, pwedeng yun lang din yung kunin ninyo. So, again, be the storyteller or the survivor. And listen without judgment. Ensure confidentiality and privacy. Kung through online ito, let's ask or the survivor if they feel safe with the app you are using to talk. If not, baka pwedeng may other apps na pwede tayong pag-transferan. Tapos ikaw din mismo, tayo din mismo mag-check how you can keep, ensure na confidential yung marireceive mong stories. So listen actively with the goal to understand and not to respond. And we let them take their time. And just like normal conversations, if there are things we want to clarify, we can ask it kasi we want to understand better. So we can clarify by paraphrasing and respect the limit of what they are ready to share. So I think this is an important point. Respect the limit of what they are ready to share. And the second one is understand. Kabit-kabit ito, while listening, you're also trying to understand, ano yung pain points nila, ano yung experiences nila, ano yung pleasures nila, how they cope. Pero, you do not only hear their voices, you also hear your own biases, your own voices. So, anong level kaya yung recognition mo sa GBV as a social issue? Kumaga, how much do you believe na merong pinanggagalingan tong mga pinagdadaanan nila at hindi nila ito kasalanan? So understand yourself, your situation and beliefs, and your ability to provide support and care. So you also check in with yourself, am I ready to give care? If not, we can transfer to a different caregiver para dun sa victim survivor. And we should know the different acts of GBV. Diba? Mas madali itong i-facilitate yung ating pakikinig sa survivors without judgment. Knowing na may iba't ibang klase ng GBV. So, merong physical violence, sexual abuse, violence, harassment, psychological, emotional abuse, economic abuse, that's one, and reproductive abuse and coercion. And GBV comes in different forms: intimate partner violence, domestic abuse and violence, online abuse, and exploitation of children, harassment in the workplace and educational setting, sex trafficking, or any kind of harm done against a person that is related to their sexuality or SOGI. So ito yung mga bagay na pwede nating itanong sa ating mga sarili. Is it ever the victim's fault? Is it because of alcohol or drugs? Diba? So what if you encountered a person who opened up to you at nalaman pa yung details, no? Itong mga bagay na to, it can come up. And sometimes it could leave us, parang off guard. Kasi nga, dahil ito ay social issue, kailangang ina-unpack din siya kung paano ka-ingrained sa atin yung patriarchy, yung ideas of patriarchy, ideas about GBV, ideas of victim blaming, and is it easy to leave abusive situations or call the police for help? So, paano pag sinabi sa atin na, ba't hindi ka agad tumawag? Paano pag naisip natin yun? Ba't hindi ka agad tumawag? So, that's one question na can guide us in understanding our beliefs about GBV. And the answer for all of this is no. It's not easy to live abusive situations because of emotional reasons. Merong attachment pa din, pagmamahal, di ba? Na hindi naman natin pwedeng isang tabi or kalimutan na lang, ipakalimot na lang sa taong kausap natin. Fear of being killed, economic factors, hindi kayang magsarili. Victim blaming, cultural and societal norms. What makes it hard for them not to ask for help? Ito yung mga bagay na yun. Ito na, neglected needs of GBV survivors, medical attention, lalo na kung merong acts of physical violence, reproductive health needs, paano kung nabuntis, di ba? What's your stand on abortion? So, may mga ganong questions din that pertain about our bias and beliefs. Diba? Mental health care. Tapos meron ding myths dito. Contraceptives are dirty, abortion is bad, we can talk about sex. I would like to go to the third principle, which is nurture. I would like to start first with we nurture ourselves first and foremost. We check our capacity to give care. And then, once we learn na okay tayo to provide care to others, how can we foster a nurturing space? We respond with care and empathy at all times. So we consider the online platform. What can be done to show respect and empathy? Pwedeng emojis, ganyan. Or you let the person talk first or finish first. Or we can ask, can I talk now? Tapos ka na ba mag-type? Paano kung face-to-face naman? Pwede niyong tanungin, komportable ka ba sa space natin? Sa lugar kung nasan tayo? Okay lang ba yung distansya natin sa isa't isa? So, literal din na space, but at the same time, yung atmosphere din na pwede natin mo-offer sa kanila. Validate and use affirmations, and we do not tolerate prejudice and discrimination. So, how can we foster a nurturing space? Of course, first, we assess safety. Kung yung uuwian ba nila, ligtas pa ba? Ito rin yung mag-i-inform kung kailangan na ba siyang i-refer or i-suggest na mag-seek ng other service providers for other needs. From self-harm, are they safe from self-harm? Respect consent and confidentiality, be clear and transparent, avoid giving false hopes. Encourage them to do self-care, promote positive coping mechanisms. Believe that the survivors do what they can do to support themselves. And we can echo yung ways nila to do it. And here are the statements we can use, no? It took a lot of courage to tell me this. How can I support you? Avoid judgment. It's not your fault. You are not alone. I believe you. We also check in periodically. If the person still feels safe with us or with the conversation. And then, handy din na meron tayong local and national resources. And we make sure na the contact details work. na meron talagang sumasagot. Or kapag nasa bahay lang yung survivor, we tell them to know their barangay's contact details. Encourage self-care, and then, again, affirmations. I can share as little or as many details of my story. I can opt not to share my story. No one is entitled to my story. It's not my fault. My feelings are all valid. It is okay not to be okay. So, again, I would like to share again na we lend them yung ating level of power para sila mas ma-access ulit nila yung power na meron sila. At yung mga survivors, meron silang sarili-sariling paraan to continuously access safety, whatever that means for them. Kaya yung fourth principle ay autonomy and action plan. Parang facilitators lang tayo sa conversation, pero ang katunayan dyan ay we take cues from the victim survivors. We know, we will know the areas where they can use our help, where they can use some information. Pero maniwala tayo na ginagawa nila yung kaya nila to support themselves. So we'll lend our power to the storytellers by honoring their autonomy and supporting their decision making. And we can ask these questions. How may we help you? What do you want to do about this? What have you done so far regarding this? What do you think is preventing you from doing what you want? So a lot of believing the survivor, knowing that they can still do something, knowing that they know what they want and what they need for themselves. So they may not realize their power now, but we are here to help them gather the courage to exercise control over their lives. And we also encourage help-seeking attitude, and we also help them choose the right people to seek help from. So yung mga questions dyan ay, sinong tao yung komportable kang malaman yung truth about you? Sino yung huling tumulong sa'yo? Sino yung huling nakatulong sa'yo? Because sometimes it takes creativity for them to know who are the people they can go to. So the last principle is safety and social support, directing to appropriate agencies. Dahil nga, meron silang iba't ibang needs. So we can only suggest and give information, but we always check in again, yung readiness nila na tawagan tong mga service providers na ito. Okay? Ito yung crucial part Kasi, yung mga nakakausap namin na iba't ibang sectors, they suggest directly, they impose kung ano yung tingin na lang tama na for the victim survivor, hindi naman yun yung kailangan nila. Okay, kaya mahalaga din na we give the correct information. So when they are ready, we can support them in contacting these service providers. So RH consultation, we have Likhaan, Center for Women's Health, mental health support, we have Lunas Collective, meron pang marami pa dyan na iba, pero itry muna natin. 'Di ba kung maglilista kayo ng mga agencies or contacts, if they are working talaga, rescue and emergency services, social services, legal services, or reporting. Safety planning, dinidescribe ko to as something na beyond our job descriptions na, pero it is a person's life we're talking about. So safety planning is one thing na we can still add to the care work na we can give or we can do. So a practical step to help storytellers save themselves in case of violent explosion. So that includes saving the emergency numbers in a piece of paper or in their phones or magkaroon ng spare text or call credit, alert the neighbors and request their assistance. Pinapasa din natin sa iba, sa community, yung responsibility ng mga laga. Okay, so we can alert the neighbors and request their assistance. Teach children to ask for help. Meron kaming isang activity sa UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies sa UPD. Self-defense siya. Doon, pinay-utilize sa amin yung pagsigaw, yung pag-alam anong parte ng katawan yung malakas, yung pwedeng gamitin. Pero I think manirelate ko to dito na yung as simple as shouting, pwede yun yung path para ma-regain yung katating na power na we can still realize na later on can provide you a way out. Ano pa? Prepare a go bag, devise an escape plan. So sa bahay, saan madaling maka-escape in case of violent explosions. Saan yung dapat iwasan kasi madaling ma-corner. Identify social support network. Mahalaga to kasi yung ginagawa natin, first response lang. At hindi naman tayo pwedeng kasama ng tao na yun 24/7. So mahalaga din ng limits and boundaries. At mahalagang ma-communicate ito sa kausap natin. Kaya mahalaga na meron siyang ma-identify na social support network. And get clients emergency contact persons. We will only contact in emergency situations. So some questions, let us help them remember sino yung mga taong nakatulong sa kanila, pwedeng from their family of origin, including siblings, relatives, friends or mates, even church mates, online communities. How can we help them identify these people? Who are the people who make you feel safe? And I also want to ask this to all the attendees ngayon. Who are the people who make you feel safe? Will it make you feel safe for these people to know your truth? Who were able to help you the last time you needed help? So that's where it ends. Ito yung recap. We have listen, understand, nurture, autonomy in action plan, safety plan, and social support. It is very tempting to take the side of the perpetrator. All the perpetrator asks is that we do nothing. But the victim, on the contrary, asks the bystander to share the burden of pain. The victim demands action, engagement, and remembering. So that's from Judith Herman, trauma expert siya. So let's go create communities of care so everybody may live, love fully, and freely. Thank you everyone for listening. Nakikita ko yung Jamboard, merong mga insights and questions. I would like to say na please take up the space you want to take up dito sa Jamboard. Meron na rin mga tanong dito. Okay. So perhaps we can have 2-minute break for all your insights, comments, decompress kung kailangan. So sharing again with you the link to the Jamboard. Okay po, sorry, Archie.
All right, so we have heard from Ms. Janine. Thank you very much for that wonderful insights. We learned a lot, most especially how we gonna when we have certain cases when we encounter, such as the principles of listening, understanding, nurturing, autonomy and action plan, safety and social support. And yeah, without any further ado, before we proceed with the reactions and before we proceed with the question and answer part of our activity this afternoon, um, let's hear from our guidance counselor, Ms. Chasilu Saturines, on behalf of the guidance services specialist, to share her heartfelt reaction about the input. Ms. Chas?
Hello, thank you for that, no. And just to start, I'd like to thank Ms. Janine for also sharing about the Lunas Collective and how they respond also to gender-based violence or sharings or from storytellers. And the way I hear it, no, I see a lot of similarities also because I think this is really mainly psychological first aid, and this is really a good start because although not all of us are, let's say, trained with more specialized services, but the fact that everyone can do psychological first aid is already a big step to address the gap or to bridge the gap rather, or to refer individuals to services, no, or to different service providers. So by if I were to parallelize it to the counseling, no, it's like look, listen, and link. I think it's also similar with Lunas, no? When you check, you have to ensure the person's safety, and you have to listen without judgment and also know your limitations, no? So we're not there to makichismis, to really dig deeper, but really more of what is the substantial issue that needs to be addressed. So as I mentioned, everyone can do psychological first aid, but we also have to know our limitations as individuals on what we can do, because we have to be careful as well if we might do more harm than good. So the steps that were outlined by Ms. Janine is already a very big step to be able to bridge the gap and lead people and make sure that we do not discourage them from seeking help, because by responding in a framework of care, we actually encourage the victims or the survivors to continue telling their stories and at the same time regain their power as well, as they, because of course they've been through a lot already. So by responding with care, we empower them. Again, we lend their power, as mentioned no earlier, we lend them the power and also allow them to regain their power. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Jazz, for the heartfelt reaction. No doubt everyone else in this meeting today feels exactly the same. So time check, it is already 3:03 p.m. and it is time for the second to the last part of our culminating program. To administer the open forum, may we call on Sheena Saclauso to administer the question and answer portion. Sheena, take it away.
Am I audible, guys? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Am I
you are,
audible?
Sheena. You're audible already, although a little bit choppy. Yeah.
Okay. So, hello everyone. We are hello to all. So, I am taking over this webinar now to initiate the open forum. So, we are keeping tabs of the opinions and questions sent us far, and so asked, and you should be answered. And so, these questions are actually from the Jamboard that the speaker provided. So, first is, since many concepts, many think that you know, victims of gender-based violence, I can only be is only validated through physical manifestation of the violence. So how do we validate the victim's experience even though they do not have physical evidence? So, and furthermore, the one who sent this said that it is actually the hard part when listening to testimonies, and this is also the reason why victims chose to stay silent. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Sheena, for that question. Um, so let's say I'm talking to the victim survivor themselves, so the first thing I will tell them is you don't need a physical evidence to prove ko yung experiences na meron ka. Yun din yun. At kung may dahilan kung bakit nagiging silent sila, baka hindi yun dahil sa kakulangan o dahil mayroong physical evidence. And on our part, as people who want to give care to victim survivors or at least be sensitive to your experiences, we take cues again from their stories. Yung paglalahad nila. So I think yung that alone, worthy na siya na paniwala. Ayun. And this is something na
Thank you.
hindi kailangan i-prove. Ayun.
Okay. Thank you for your response. Yeah. And so the next is, this is also again in relation to your some of the points you had, the perpetrators, and what will happen if we do not do so. What are your views about this?
Should we forgive and forget our perpetrators? What will happen if we do not do so? It's your process. It's your choice. Hindi siya linear na proseso. So definitely depende sa'yo yan. Kung ano yung mag-work sa'yo. Kung ano yung magsisit correct, right with how you feel or how you see yourself, 'di ba? So, ngayon na for example, hindi mo, kunwari lang, ayaw mong patawarin, that's okay. But if time comes, you plan to forgive your perpetrator, I don't know you, pero I want you to know na you have my support. So, depende yan sa'yo.
So the victims have their own valid ways in forgiving their perpetrators, and everyone has their support when they are ready. And so we are on to the next question. What makes incorporating, since you healthcare in your endeavor as a therapist, so what makes incorporating feminism a holistic approach, or may be different or a unique method in fighting against sexual harassment?
So thank you for that question. So yung feminism, the way I use it is tinitake note nga natin yung intersectionality, meaning yung social categories na meron tayo na affect nun yung mga resources na natatanggap natin o hindi natin natatanggap. So for example, meron akong client sa teenager, alam ko na nilalaman ko kung ano yung level of power niya. So let me use that phrase, level of power to decide for themselves. Kasi age is one category. Usually, kapag age ang usapan, adults ang mas binibigyan ng power, o doon power ng adults yung usually na-emphasize lang. Pero teenagers, in practice, yun yung ginagawa ko. Parang I give them support, I show them na ito yung autonomy nyo. You can support yourself, you know how to support yourself. Tapos on the other hand naman, knowing na isang parte ng ating pagkatao ay ang social aspect. So binubuo tayo ng biological, psychological, and social aspect. And so our social aspect also has a say sa magiging outcome ng ating at experience ng ating well-being. And that includes anong expectations sa gender identity mo, paano yon nagpe-play out in actual situations. Ayun. Tapos, makikita pa siya across settings. So, when you are at home, in school, in the church, paano nagpe-play out yung mga ganong ideas against or for your gender identity. Ayun. So, I hope that's clear.
So thank you for your valuable insights, Ms. Jenny. And also engaging in this open forum as much as we want to continue further. We still have time constraints, and I'm giving back to the MCs to proceed. Thank you.
Right, that was it for our open forum. There you have it, guys. Since we have limited time, and yeah, and there are still some parts of our program that we need to finish this afternoon. For those questions that haven't been answered and clarified, our speaker will answer that in, I guess, in the Jamboard. And you can also message the Facebook page of the Office of the Anti-Sexual Harassment UP Cebu for more informations. Yeah. And at this point of our program, we have the honor, no, as the host of
Yes.
today's activity. We have the honor to read the citation of the certificate that we will be awarding to our speaker. Certificate of Appreciation is presented to Ms. Janine Del Mundo for significant input as our resource speaker during the First Responders Webinar 2.0, the second round of the ASH First 2022 as part of UP Cebu's observance of Human Rights Day and the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. Given this 10th day of December 2022, signed by no other than the Chancellor of the UP Cebu, Attorney Leo B. Malagar.
Yes, so we would like to extend our deep gratitude towards our speaker, Ms. Janine Del Mundo, for sharing her valuable insights and expertise with regard to how we can end sexual harassment and gender-based violence here in the Philippines, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Chels, and this activity would not be made possible without the assistance of the people behind us. We have the UP TLRC, the UP Cebu community, the Office of the Student Affairs, the Gender and Development Office, the Office of the Anti-Sexual Harassment, the Lunas Collective, and last but not the least, the Psi 105 class of Miss Arch, for the very wonderful and great success of this activity. And now, since during the kickoff activity of the To End Vow on November 25, there was an on-the-spot essay writing contest that was done after the kickoff program. And now to announce the winners, let us call in no other than the GOD coordinator. We have Doc Annabelle G. Maglasa. Let's give him some virtual clap.
Okay, a pleasant good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Doc, we can hear you, Doc.
Congratulations to Fergie, and who's your co-MC? Fergie, yeah, the
Chelsea.
beautiful persons, no? And of course, thank you also to Attorney Archil, especially the Social Science 105 class. So to announce the winners, sana may drum roll, no? There were actually 5 contestants who participated in the essay writing. Okay, so I'll start with the consolation. Actually, the 5 of you are winners. Diba? Kasi consolation prizes, so ranking na lang, will also be given 300 pesos worth of loan. So, consolation prizes, the essay is entitled, drum roll please, Red and Blue, the Violet Blot on Coffee Shaded Skin by Sophia May Busquel. Congratulations. Is she around? Again, a round of applause. The next consolation prize. Kulbaan na mo? So, okay, the next consolation, the music of our love. Yay, congratulations, Mariel Mosadio. So you get 300 pesos na load card. This time, higher ang price, no? Third place with 500 gift check na. So you can at least buy for Christmas whatever you want, no? Third place goes to, of course, the theme that we have, Voice Matters, a vow-free UP Cebu by Diana Marie Velasquez. Third place. Second place, you're very familiar with this because he's the MC today. Congratulations, Ferdy Kogal for second place winner. 1,000 gift check. Vow-free UP Cebu starts with us, which is very true, no? Any change always begins with the self. And finally, first place goes to, I love the title, no? What does love look like? Oh, what does love look like, no? The winner is for first place with 1,500 gift check is Katrina Isabel Nahera. Congratulations. Congrats to all the winners of the on-the-spot essay writing contest, which we did last November 25. And of course, congratulations to the class of Saksay 105. Thank you very much for all those who attended this webinar. Thank you also to our guest speaker, Ms. Janine Del Mundo, and to the, of course, to Ms. Jazz, another feminist counselor, no, Ms. Jazz Satorinas. Let me just say a few words of closing, if okay lang. Ferdy, is it okay? Okay. Violence against women and girls is rooted in gender-based discrimination, social norms, stereotypes that accept violence and that continue as a cycle. Response to such incidents needs proper care, as explicitly and extensively discussed by our resource speaker. To date, efforts to eliminate violence against women and girls, and even LGBT, have mainly focused on responding and providing services for survivors of violence. But we need also to have preventive measures, addressing the structural causes as well as the risk and protective factors associated with violence is pivotal in eliminating violence against women and girls. So prevention is actually the only way to stop violence, no, before it even occurs. So it requires political commitment, implementing laws that promote gender equality, investing in LGBTQ and women's organization, as mentioned, linkaging, no, and having You're Not Alone. There are a lot of NGO like Lunas Collective and other organizations that help both survivors and also prevention and other multiple forms of discrimination. So we are happy to note also that we will be announcing the 18 men and women trailblazers. So online na lang yon to be more exciting on Monday, which is the last day, no, of the 18-day campaign. Actually, this will be coming from former OWASH and GAD coordinators, or those who have really given a lot of advocacy and love and hard work, because GAD started 1989, no? And we're on our 33 years. I started my advocacy in UP 2002, so it's my 20th year in UP. But we have men and women, like movement against violence of women, because we have to include both men and women as partners for a vow-free UP Cebu. So congratulations, everyone. Congratulations to the winners, and continue to do good things that you have been already doing. Maraming salamat. Again, salamat.
Thank you, Doc Maglasang, for that wonderful speech and for announcing our winners for our essay writing. Again, congratulations to all the winners. Actually, all of us. All of us are winners, Gyud.
And just a correction, no, it was not Diana who wrote the essay. It was
For the third place.
for the
yeah.
third place. It's
Place.
Angel and Habian.
Just that the email used for the submission was Diana Velasquez email, Miss. But
Yeah, thank
okay.
you
Yeah,
for
that's okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure, Miss. To officially end this program, may we call on one of the Socksai 105 students, Katrina Isabel Nahera, for the closing remarks. Kat, take it away.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Audible na audible, Kat.
Okay, Laisho. Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time from their very busy schedules to attend and learn from our speaker today, from our discussion today. Sige, as mentioned by Attorney Capistrano, we are now on our 16th day of our 18-day campaign for a vow-free Philippines. And personally, I am very honored to be a part of UP Cebu's collective effort in this campaign, and especially thankful for everyone who has taken part in amplifying our calls for a vow-free UP Cebu as well. Again, your efforts have not gone unnoticed, and though we are nearing the end of our campaign and the end of our webinar, let it be known that this fight against gender-based violence does not end today, does not end on Monday, but it goes on until we have achieved our goal for a vow-free Philippines. So, gender-based violence in all its forms is a social issue. It is an issue that goes beyond the whats and whos, but very much involves the whys and the hows. It's perhaps one of the gravest kinds of social issue, and yet it is somehow very normalized in our society today. It's normalized, it's internalized by perpetrators and even by victims themselves. And therefore, it is important to know why this issue happens to better understand how to combat it. So today, we have learned a lot from our guest speaker, Ms. Janine Del Mundo, Janine Del Mundo's talk regarding the importance of handling victim survivors with utmost sensitivity. Now, again, as we note ni Ms. Jazz kanina, we may not all be licensed professionals, but it takes nothing to simply be there for victim survivors. Most of all, our loved ones who may be victims themselves of GBV and sexual harassment. It takes nothing to be an ally, to be a first responders to survivors, but it means everything. It means all the difference. In many cases, it could mean the difference between life and death. So as first responders, the first best thing we can do is to listen to survivors. We believe the survivors. Because by believing them little by little, we are returning to them the power that had been stripped from them during their experience with abuse. By understanding them, we understand ourselves as well. By actively listening and internalizing the perspectives of survivors, we can come to reevaluate our own perspectives as well, especially regarding GBV and sexual harassment, which again could not only save ourselves, it could save ourselves, but also our loved ones in the future. So again, power has also been a very prominent theme in today's discussion. And as GBV has everything to do with taking power away from its victims, as first responders, what we can do is lend our power to survivors, to affirm and support them when they choose to speak up and act and demand justice for themselves. We may not be able to reverse all the trauma ourselves, though if we could, we would. We may not be able to reverse all that, but all that they had gone through. But what we can do is respect and honor their autonomy as living human beings in whatever they decide to do moving forward. So today, It is unfortunately, yes, that violence is learned, but so is caring. Care is a response just as violence is a response as well. But that is why it is up to us as a collective, to choose which kind of response and what kind of culture we will be promoting among us moving forward. So I believe that is all on my end. Thank you. Back to you, Chels and Ferds.
Thank you so much, Kat. And there you have it, folks. This has been a great weekend to speak and learn more about what we can do to end violence against women and gender-based violence. And now, that we will have the opportunity to have a photo with our speaker and some of our resource
Yes, the photo op will be administered by Miss Noel Seno.
from TLRC.
Yes.
Alright. So,
Oh,
is it okay to stop share na lang sa ano para makita na natin people?
Okay.
Alright. So if it's okay also for everyone to open their cameras so you can see your faces, beautiful faces. So we currently have two windows or two tabs for the participants. So kindly hold on to your smiles and say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Wait lang ha. Right, for the second page. Okay, thank you everyone.
Yay! Thank you so much,
Happy
Miss, for
Human
taking
Rights
the-
Day. Don't forget to evaluate. The link is there so that you'll have your certificate and also the My Notes. Hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, Miss. This is noted, Miss. Thank you again, everyone, for attending our program for today. So once again, we are your hosts, Chelsea Bernales.
and vertical